What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Tuesday night live stream. I'm excited about this episode. I got a lot to discuss, and I'm actually going to be talking about comic books, which is a kind of a refreshing take, considering some of the really bleak and depressing shit I was talking about the last couple of weeks. So it's a good one. I'm back in my bag again, and I got on my good clothes. So, listen, 80s tees, whenever this drops, 80s tees, if you ever need a spokesman, I'm a customer for life, bro. Like, y'all keep me right, bro. Wait till you see the shirt I have in mind for next week, bro. I'm gonna be killing them. It might take a couple weeks to get here, but it is what it is. But 80s tees, y'all really have some dope products, and so I will hype y'all forever. Get in the comments, y'all. I do want to converse, and so I'm trying to weigh this out of whether I want to stay on this platform or if I want to take this exclusively to TikTok Live, because my audience to TikTok Live always shows up. And so I'm really looking for that engagement here. Don't be shy. I also, if people want to pop on the live stream and actually kind of be guests on here, I'm cool with that too. Just hit me up and let me know. Hit my inbox and let me know you're down. Typically, I like to reserve it for Facebook friends because I actually know y'all. I know a lot of y'all. And I'm actually interactive with y'all on previous live streams. And so I wouldn't mind if I have some other nerds that want to jump on here. All right. So tonight's episode, we got a couple of different things. I'm going to be revisiting that entire Andrew Tate conversation. And really it's talking about the reaction that I got in the inbox and in the comments, and kind of giving my take on where we're at right now. But first things first, I do want to chop it up and talk about my favorite thing in comics that's happening right now. Like, in bar none, it's my favorite thing. Like, it's not even close. Absolute Batman is everything. It is, and I'm a Batman fan, but I'm not like a Batman super fan, because Batman super fans will defend some abysmal shit, some abysmal runs from Batman, and I'm not on that level. And they'll overlook a lot of glaring issues with Batman as a character. I'm not on that level. But the Absolute Batman from Scott Snyder is, bar none, the best interpretation of the character and his rogues gallery that I have ever seen. And I'm including pretty much every alternate universe and everything else. Scott Snyder is absolutely killing it with Batman. With the Absolute Batman run. Specifically, the interpretations of Batman and Bane are absolutely crushing it. I don't know what else to say. I can't give enough praise to it, because it's taking the trope of we're going to have a grim, dark world, but it's grim and it's bleak, but it's not hopeless. And it really introduces some interesting spins on these characters. I'm a huge fan of what is coming out. I am on the edge of my seat every single month waiting for the new drop to come out. And I've just peeped the new one with Bane, where we get some of Bane's backstory. Man, I can't say enough about it. And so I'm gonna hop into my outline here regarding this, because this, in my estimation, this is a generational run. And here's the thing. For those that don't know, Scott Snyder is responsible for some of the best Batman stories ever written. Death of the Family, which was all right. Court of Owls, which was amazing. Dark Knight's Metal, and I think he did Death Metal too. I was on the fence about Death Metal. I'll be straight up with you, but Dark Knight's Metal, I liked it. But Court of Owls was absolutely kind of a transformative arc. Did a lot of world building for the Batman character, and we really rejuvenated who this character was. And so I'm a huge fan of what's happening in Absolute Batman, and I'm going to get in some mild spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled on comics that came out like 4 months ago, then go ahead and click off of here now. But for the rest of us that are keeping track, I'm going to break a couple things down to you. There's a couple of real world things that are happening. So the idea that, Batman in DC, in the main DC, is like, what, 6'2", 6'3", 215, which is a big guy. I mean, if he's muscular, I mean, he's a big, strong guy, but some of the stuff he does, it borders on superhuman. And so This version of Batman is like 6'8", like 495 pounds, absolute unit of a human being. He didn't grow up rich. His mom is still alive. Like, a couple of things in the mythos are different. For those that don't know, the absolute DC universe is basically what happens when the Justice League defeats Darkseid and he goes crashing through reality, and he hits a point where basically he is the center point of an alternate reality, and so he is the primal being. And so you get the absolute universe, which takes a lot of interesting spins on, like, Green Lantern and Wonder Woman. Martian Manhunter is really exciting. The Flash is different. Superman is dope. Wonder Woman's dope. And so, but it's really some interesting spins on it. So, like, in Absolute Superman, he didn't come to planet Earth as a baby. He did still meet the Kents, but he came as a teenager. And so he grew up on Krypton until he was a teenager. And it still was instructive to who he is, and it still keeps the core of his character, but it changes some aspects of his personality. He didn't grow up all his life. He didn't grow up all his life with his superpowers. He just got them. And so he's learning how to navigate the world and use those in a world that is unfamiliar. Ra's al Ghul is like kind of the Lex Luthor of this world. We haven't even met Lex Luthor yet, I don't think, in the Absolute Universe. But the Lazarus Corporation is the evil corporation that has his hands in every single pie. And so Absolute Superman is different. He's still figuring out his morality. He doesn't want to kill, and he holds himself off from it, but it's something that's always teased. Absolute Wonder Woman, she was actually raised in hell and wasn't raised on Themyscira, and she has an entire different persona. It's still really levered to the magic, and the magic in the Greek pantheon of gods and stuff. But it's an interesting spin. Flash is Wally West. We've seen Barry Allen, but not much. And so there's some really interesting spins that are happening, is what I'm saying. But by and large, Absolute Batman is clearing them all. It's absolutely clearing every single thing I think that either company is doing, except for the new Ultimate stuff, which I'll get into on another stream and talk and hype that up. But I'm not even interested in a lot of mainstream DC right now. It's hard for me to get engaged because the Absolute Universe is so much superior and so much more interesting than what's going on in the mainstream DC universe. And I'm actually going to be sad if they wind this thing down. But so I'm going to get into this. The streets need Scott Snyder on the Hulk. And I know Scott Snyder's done some light work with Marvel. I think he's done some X-Men stuff. He's done some X-Men and a couple of other things. But it hasn't been recently. And I'm saying this. A Snyder run on the Hulk could possibly match what Al Ewing did with the Immortal Hulk. Now, I know that's a high bar to set, but I absolutely think Scott Snyder is equipped to do similar things with the Hulk mythos that he's similar that Al Ewing did. And that's a high watermark because for those nerds out there, Immortal Hulk is probably the greatest run of the Hulk since Peter David was running it. And it probably has Peter David beat in a lot of aspects in terms of world building and a couple of other aspects of it. But I think the streets need a Scott Snyder run on the Hulk. Now, I can see Scott Snyder doing some other stuff, right? Like, I could see him in Marvel doing, like, I think his view, I have a couple of ideas for him. I think that, we could see some Lovecraftian stuff with the Hulk, Gamma as a metaphysical foreshaping reality and stuff like that. But also, I don't think Scott Snyder would be just limited to a dope Hulk run. I think he can do something interesting with the Fantastic Four. Family psychology. You can introduce some cosmic horror that we haven't seen in the Fantastic Four and really play that up. I think a Spider-Man run with Scott Snyder would be phenomenal. And it'll probably refresh the character in a way that's been long overdue. But the streets require Scott Snyder on the Hulk. Like, Marvel, if y'all listening to me, I don't care if you have to sell the soul of the company. Get Scott Snyder on a Hulk run. We need it. The streets need a Scott Snyder Hulk. Like, we need it. We require a Scott Snyder Hulk run. If you thought Al Ewing's, because here's the thing, for those that don't know, and I got to pull up his whole body of work, just so that I could show you. But Scott Snyder's body of work is based in a lot of horror, psychological horror, body horror, and stuff like that. And so when he gets into his bag and incorporates that into the absolute Batman, it creates things that we've never seen before. It adds layers to the character of Batman and his rogues gallery, because his rogues gallery is characterized by madness and body horror. It always has been, to a degree. Somebody's been disfigured, or they were born disfigured, or something along the way, and it shaped their experience. The man into monster trope is huge in Batman. And so Snyder's 100% leaning into it. Like I said, I'm blown away. I think Scott Snyder did the one where Jim Gordon took over as Batman. And I think that's where I really got invested into it. And I've just been a huge simp for Scott Snyder. I'm just being honest with you. Like, anything that he publishes with DC, I'm going to read, even though even when DC has bad stuff, if he's attached to it, I'm going to mess with it. Let me pull up some of Scott Snyder's biography so that you guys, if you're not aware of what he does and some of his work, you can actually go see for yourself. You could go see for yourself, just so that you get a good sense of the ground. Like I said, he's done horror in other companies. But the stuff he's doing with Batman is just mind-bending. So here it is. I'm waiting for my Google machine to fire up. Okay. So I'm gonna go through my outline. The track record for Snyder matters because it's Court of Owls, Dark Knight's Metal, Absolute Batman. He really bends the psychology and myth and horror. He gets into how these characters think. The worlds that he builds are robust. They feel new. He's able to take concepts that existed in the books and give them refreshing spins. What he's doing with the Joker is a very interesting take. I have yet to see how it plays out, but I think that we can see we're going to see some really interesting things. What he's doing with the other rogues, the rogues are basically Batman's crew. That's his friends. He's friends with Killer Croc. By the way, what they did with Killer Croc was absolutely, it was chilling the way that they drew him. But he started out as a normal person, man to monster. Batman and Catwoman, Batman and Selina are an on and off again couple that grew up together. The Penguin is a friend. Edward Nygma is a friend. Harvey Two-Face. They are all friends. They all grew up together. And so what happened was they went on a field trip where Bruce's dad was kind of chaperoning, and something happened and Bruce's dad got shot at the zoo. So all the friends were there for it. And it shaped Batman from that point on. Like I said, he grew up as a kid who was middle class, but he was a prodigious athlete, but he still has the same level of intelligence. So he did travel the world learning martial arts and stuff, and graduated college and became a civil engineer. And in his engineering job, he's learned electrical engineering, all kinds of other stuff so that he can modify his gadgets and gear and vehicles and stuff. So he's a prodigiously smart kid. He just didn't have the infinite resources that is in the mainstream. He's also a massive guy. Like I said, this guy's a unit. He's 6'9", almost 500 pounds of solid muscle. And so that gives him a level to do some of the superhuman things that we've seen him do in other books, And so he doesn't grow up rich, travels the world, still learns a lot of the martial arts, but his mastery of those martial arts is still limited by his application of them. And so the very first, the first arc, he gets his ass whooped by Black Mask. Like, he gets the holy hell beat out of him by Black Mask because he's not necessarily ready for prime time. He's used to beating up low-level street thugs, and then he graduates with Black Mask, who is a practitioner of grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and kills people for fun with it. And so he wasn't ready for that level. He had to learn to come back. And even then, he had to almost cheat to win. This Batman ain't afraid to play dirty. This Batman will not kill you, but he will maim you. He will absolutely maim you in some of the most awful ways. He'll gouge your eyes out. He'll chop hands off. Like this Batman is he'll spray acid in your face. Like this Batman is a different breed. So he'll do everything short of killing you. And so he has a different mentality of it all. Alfred in this universe, they're leaning into his MI6 or Special Forces, British Secret Service background. And so he takes on Bruce. He mentors Bruce, but he's mentoring him not as the butler, but he's mentoring him as, yeah, I am a spy and I'm a mercenary. And my job was to come figure out what was going on in Gotham City, what was going on with the Lazarus Corporation, and put down Batman because he's interfering with our investigation. So Batman was a hindrance. And so initially his initial assignment was to take him out. But he actually felt an affinity for Batman and a kinship with him. And so he decided to train him and teach him the ways of spycraft. Really interesting stuff, right? That he doesn't have a bat cave, but since he's a civil engineer who works for the city, he knows where pretty much every abandoned building and tunnel and everything is in Gotham. And so the whole city is basically his bat cave. You know, the bat vehicles are heavy duty construction equipment. Like the Batmobile is basically a heavy duty construction vehicle that he's retrofitted to do all kinds of other stuff. So there's some stretching of it in terms of what he's able to do from a resource position, but a lot of it is just his ingenuity. And they even comment on how much time he spent building out all this shit. There's an arc where he does, they tease the idea of him becoming rich. He takes a lot of money to get paid off. So the Black Mask pays him a lot of money for him to go away. And I forgot how he got rid of it, but they were going to tease it like he was going to be rich. And so there's hints to who he is as the character. And of course, the thing that stays the same is his one-man army on crime. Batman, Gotham City is actually a lot more brutal in this book, a lot darker in this book. But like I said, it's dark and bleak and disturbing, but it's not hopeless. So I have my stuff up here, and I'm kind of lingering on this because I do want to talk about a couple of things. Batman, the Black Mirror, that was one of the early ones. That's one of his early major works with Dick Grayson as Batman. Batman New 52, and that run from 2011 to 2016, Court of Owls, Death of the Family, 0 Year, Endgame, Dark Knights and Dark Knights Metal, where they are bringing in evil alternative versions of Batman. We got the Justice League run that he did, where it's cosmic horror, and he really established Perpetua as this Lovecraftian villain. I don't like how they necessarily jobbed out the Anti-Monitor, but hey, it can't all be perfect. But then independently, American Vampire, these are creator-owned works. It's creator-owned, and he contributed. Stephen King was a contributor early on. Witches, creative horror series, that was his own. Noctera on Image Comics. And then the current run is his absolute Batman run. It's bleak, but there's a layer versions of Batman, Bane, Mr. Freeze, Black Mask, really interesting revisions of them, making those characters actual existential threats to Batman, where any one of his active rogues can do physical, real harm to him. And some of them have. Right now, the Bane arc is Batman absolutely getting cooked right now, like he's getting his ass beat. But Scott Snyder is really known for blending that horror, psychology, and mythology, and he takes street-level characters and scales them up into mythical icons. It's really an amazing thing to see. But there's never a loss of an emotional core. Like, there's always an emotional element to this thing. Let me put my camera on so it can track me a little bit more. All right. So the reason why I'm saying the streets need a Scott Snyder Hulk run, and the streets require it, it's going to feed families, bro. Like, it's going to change the course of the world. It might make this country worth existing in for another 4 years if we got Scott Snyder on the Hulk. It can transform the universe. Not mine. No, I'm just playing. The Hulk has always been treated kind of as a horror character. Even right now, what they're doing with the Hulk, with the mother of all horrors and the eldest, where they're really leaning into monster stuff. It's interesting. like it gives a new spin to the Hulk villains, where these people, these creatures are mythically powered, and so it's not a scientific basis for it. It's all magic, and the Hulk is trying to exist and fight these creatures. And it kind of takes him out of the main Marvel milieu and drops him into a road story essentially with monsters. And I think that the arc they're going with, because I think the Hulk after this is not Banner, it's a different Hulk, but he, you know, and the images of him, he's purple and it looks like he's been stitched together or something. It still is going into the horror aspect of the character, and a lot of the horror that was present in Al Ewing run. You know, understand that Immortal Hulk was a huge body horror book, and the Immortal Hulk didn't have a problem with killing bad guys, whereas there had always been this weird rule where magically the Hulk, when he goes on a rampage and destroys the city, he doesn't kill anybody in the main Marvel universe because Banner is subconsciously guiding him. They threw that out the window. If you hurt somebody, the Hulk will kill your ass, and he will do it painfully. And that was kind of established in the Immortal Hulk. And even the most recent run of the Hulk book, he puts the hurting on a child abuser in a very bad way. But I think Scott Snyder writing the Hulk is like, that's the secret sauce. Like, I think he can absolutely build a world around what Al Ewing has already built for the Hulk mythos. Because there was this weird Hulk mythos where he was off planet. I think it was right after the Omega Hulk stuff. And they shot him off planet, and he had to deal with the Hulk's Hulk, and he was doing all kinds of other stuff. And he got Thor to Hulk out. Like, it was a weird run that the Hulk just came off of before this Monsters arc. And it felt really out of place after the Al Ewing run. It felt supremely out of place after the Al Ewing run. I'll be honest with you. And so I think this could be a return to form. So Hulk has been treated like a horror for 4 years with Al Ewing. Snyder could expand the mythology like Court of Owls did with Gotham. Like Court of Owls absolutely transformed Gotham. It really explored the fractured psyche. Like even right now in the Hulk book, the monster element, they're calling him the fractured son. He's part of some kind of prophecy that's going to bring about the return of monsters to the Marvel Universe. And for those that don't know, monsters have always been a huge part of the Marvel Universe. In the early days, it was always the superheroes fighting off against some giant monster. And so they did the Monster Island thing a couple years ago, and it really didn't take. And I think they're trying to use Hulk to kind of backdoor, bring in a lot of those mythological monsters and creatures of myth that they have on Monster Island. But it can explore the fractured psyche, multiple Hulks, distinct mythic archetypes, and build an entire pantheon of Gamma irradiated, you know, because they also have the one above all, the one below all, who's a gamma radiated devil. And he's basically the devil in the Hulk family. You know, the Green Door, he could explore that, why the Hulks can never die. There's a lot he can do with it. And I'm interested to see what I would be interested to see what a Scott Snyder take on the Leader would look like, or what the Abomination would look like. Like, I think that he could absolutely add new layers to these characters and breathe new life into them. And I'm not disparaging what's happening in the Hulk right now. The Hulk books are amazing right now. The Incredible Hulk books are pretty much my favorite thing coming out of the main Marvel universe, aside from the Ultimates. Who is it? Donnie is was it Donnie Cates? Who's doing it right now? The Donnie Cates run on Hulk was dope, but it was abridged. Like, I think they cut a lot out of what the Donnie Cates Hulk could be. And he took over right after Al Ewing. I think Donnie Cates had his own vision, but I know that he wasn't necessarily allowed to finish that vision. I need to figure out who's writing the Hulk right now, because I should know who's writing the current Incredible Hulk right now. Johnson. Philip Kennedy Johnson. Philip Kennedy Johnson's run on Hulk is dope right now. I'm not even going to front, but I think Scott Snyder Hulk would just be delicious. Like it. Oh, I can't even think. My mind goes on this comic book stuff. This is what I wanted to write, and so my mind absolutely gets blown by this stuff. But many arcs of what Snyder could do. The Court of Gamma, secret society controlling gamma research and kind of precipitating what happened to the Hulk. The Green Pantheon, Lovecraftian gods tied to gamma energy. It could really dig into bring in Shamagorath and a couple of other those Lovecraftian monsters that existed in Marvel. The Maestro's Rise. Scott Snyder could explore the inevitable dystopian hope future that's going to come because he's going to be the last one surviving. Anders Paranoia, the inner psychology that twisted into external threats, where a lot of Banner's worst fears get manifested just because he refuses to address them. He wants to suppress them. Okay, so those are some of the ideas that I have. Marvel, you can steal them. I don't care. Or hire me as a consultant. I don't know. But I would love to see what Snyder does with what Scott Snyder would do with the Hulk. And I know it's hypothetical. Bro is DC's moneymaker right now. He's probably one of the most celebrated writers that they have currently working there. And so I know DC was not going to let him go for any price. But if he got a chance to do some Marvel stuff, I would. Oh, my gosh. And here's the other thing. Like Snyder other places, bro. Like I said, Fantastic Four, you could deal with cosmic horror, deal with family dynamics under cosmic dread. How do they maintain it where every week they're stopping some world-ending, universe-ending threat? And ramp up the stakes so it's more than just Galactus. You know, Spider-Man, the psychological torment of who he is, and he kind of has the same thing where a lot of his rogues are science experiments that have gone wrong. Doctor Strange. Scott Snyder, Doctor Strange run, bro. Come on, bro. Like Scott Snyder's Doctor Strange, we're like, come on. This is waiting. This is easy. Like the collab needs to happen, right? Like this is like Nas on a Primo beat, bro, or Jay on a Primo beat. This is like when Royce did the Prime stuff and was on a Primo beat. These are combinations that need to happen. Lil Brother, Ninth Wonder. Sky Zoo, Ninth Wonder. Like, come on, bro. Give it to us. The streets need it. The streets require this. So I need y'all to ride with me on this one. Personally, Absolute Batman is my favorite Batman book of all time right now. And I know it's easy to be a prisoner of the moment and be hyperbolic, but everything Scott Snyder's touched in Batman, I fuck with. And I read it. I pick it up and read it. And it's been nonstop since he first started coming on the scene. Since New 52 and a little bit before, since Court of Owls, I've been into whatever Scott Snyder's doing with Batman. Okay. But Absolute Batman is my favorite version of the character. I wouldn't mind seeing Absolute Batman come over and be the main Batman for a while. Like that's how much I engage and embrace the character, or where they merge the universes together. I would almost feel like that would be the best outcome for the Absolute Universe, where they merge these characters together, and so they get some of the rejuvenating elements of the Absolute Universe. Green Lantern gets some of that. Martian Manhunter gets some of that. Wonder Woman gets some of that. Flash, but they meld the universes together, and so we're not just abandoning the Absolute version of these characters, because it's really been interesting. But to be honest with you, this is the best take on Batman and Bane that I've ever seen. Black Mask too. I'll throw him in there because they made Black Mask an actual threat to Batman as opposed to threats to members of his family. And Mr. Freeze was dope. He was terrifying. So this is what I'm saying, bro. Like I'm really excited to see where the Absolute run goes. Like it's got me back into collecting Batman books, which I haven't done seriously for a long time. But this is it right here. And so if you're on the fence about jumping into Batman, or you never really liked him as a character, I strongly encourage you to give Absolute Batman a shot, because it's the Batman story that the streets have been asking for. It's terrifying, it's bleak, it's dark, but it's not hopeless. And you get to see some really disturbing shit, like some deeply disturbing shit, but it's not done for shock value. And I have to be really real. It's not done for shock value. The way that they've done Arkham Asylum, or it's Arkham, chef's kiss, just amazing. So, but yeah, man, I'm glad that I had a chance to sit down and talk about comic books, because that's something that brings me life and energy. All right, I'm going to kind of blaze through these next couple of sessions because they're still kind of negative, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to touch base on. Okay. For the next segment, it's something that I need to discuss, and it's a trend that I'm seeing on social media. And I want to blend this in with another topic on social media that I've been seeing. And so I don't have notes on it, so this is going to be more of an off the top riff. But I'm probably going to expand more on it. There's this weird thing on Twitter where people on Twitter have to prove about how about it they are with their causes and their beliefs. And they take some of the most extreme, nutty stands that I've ever seen in my life. These hyperbolic stands. It's like they're almost competing with each other to see who can have the most out there stance on a thing. To the point where it ends up becoming reductive. Like I've talked about the swirlers and the divestors, and I've talked about the men going their own ways, and I talked about the travel bros and all that other stuff, right? The passport bros and the negativity that they heap upon Black men and Black women. But I'm starting to see the edges of it on Twitter, where people take these phenomenally hardline stands that they do not take in real life. Like they ain't about that action in real life. But for them, their activism and their loudness on Twitter is kind of, in their mind, it's establishing how real they are about the thing. And in my mind, it's like, this is performative bullshit. I've been out in protests and demonstrations, and I'm not going to tell you which ones. I've done a lot of that stuff. Now, activism, I haven't really dipped my toe into. And I'm not necessarily built for it, but I will support your activist cause. But what I see on Twitter are people that they never really been out in the streets like that, but they talk like they have. They talk like they've been out here banging on it. I am washed out on this thing. Let me fix this. Let me fix my lights right quick. And so it's a frustrating thing to see. Here's the case in point. So young lady was posting basically, she's basically kind of musing on this I hate men trend on Twitter. And it happens where death to all men, I hate men, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of it's done for hyperbolic shock value or whatnot. But she's basically saying it's turned into where some women will absolutely bully a woman that's in a happy relationship and stuff like that. And I've seen it, like what they did with Simone Biles, when her husband transgressed in a lot of these women's eyes. Like he transgressed, and they immediately decided that they're going to bang on Simone for standing up and saying, "Hey, leave me and my husband alone. Leave him alone. This ain't cool. It's not. I don't like it. It's not supportive to me, and I don't feel like this is benefiting me." And they instantly like took over the bullying big sister, big cousin role that happens where no man is good enough. Ooh, that's even worse. Where no man is good enough and stuff. And it took on that really weird kind of role. And Simone's like, "Hey, stop it. I don't necessarily like you picking on my husband." And a lot of women were like, "Yeah, we don't care. We're going to keep picking on him." And it got weird. And so what I'm saying is, I'm saying all that to say this. She is basically talking about that and how there's this weird bullying that happens when some people see a happy couple on the internet. And it's not just women that do this. A lot of niggas do this. A lot of dudes are doing this stuff too, where you see a happy couple and instantly you start injecting all your unresolved relational trauma into their relationship and treating it as like, I'm just giving you a heads up to watch out for it. And basically all you're doing is really trying to poison the well. Like you're trying to put the seeds in so that you can inject some of your bitterness and unhappiness and resentment into these young people's lives. And I see it on, like I said, it's something that I've seen it play out in real time. And so that's all she was saying. And she got dogpiled for that. She got dogpiled for saying, hey, if you see a happy couple on there, she may not be in the, and she may not be in the I hate men thing. Like she may actually like the person she's in a relationship with. Imagine that. Imagine that in this day and age where you actually enjoy being around the person that you're in a relationship with. And so I'm not going to ride along with you just absolutely belittling and, verbally eviscerating the person she's in a relationship with. I don't think that's cool. And they dogpiled her for that. And the guys that they use saying, well, it's anti-patriarchy, it's anti, you're just defending the patriarchy and all this other stuff. And I understand, but a lot of times they wrap a lot of this bullying, because it's bullying, it's cyberbullying. They wrap a lot of the bullying of people that are in happy relationships, people that are enjoying a thing, because all it takes is you to enjoy a thing on social media for somebody to shit all over it. Like, that's all it takes. All you got to do is just show up enjoying something, and somebody's going to have an issue with you, what you enjoy. And so it's a weird form of bullying where it's like, it's this cult of misery. I don't have anything else except yelling at people on my Twitter. And I'm calling it Twitter. I'm not calling shit X, right? Like, I'm just not doing it. I'm enjoying a thing, and I'm going to drag you into my cult of misery because I don't have any hobbies, or I don't have any relationships that are fulfilling. And so because of that, my only pastime is to log on to Twitter and comment on everybody's life and basically insult you and basically shit all over everything that you enjoy, or find opportunities to dogpile people on Twitter. And that's all you have. Like, literally, that's all you have in your life. And since they don't have anything, that's all they can lean into. That's the only thing that makes them feel like they're engaging with the world, which is a sad place to be. But that's an aside. And I'm going to give a more fleshed out take on that, because I don't like doing these off the cuff kind of takes without actually spending some time to think about it, because there's some nuance that I'm probably missing here. But it's something that I've seen on Twitter. Now, moving into another thing that I've seen on Twitter, and this one I've actually put thought into. Actually had spent some time to spend with it. So we're going to get into it. One of the trends I've seen on social media, specifically people having knee-jerk reaction to the election. People are angry and hurt and stuff like that. And they feel betrayed and let down and all the other stuff, all the other signs all the other writing on the wall. What happens is, specifically with Black folks, FD Signifier mentioned this, but I want to kind of reiterate. Black folks are a very pragmatic voting bloc. And I'll be out, like, when Obama's first term, it took a long time for Black people to get on board with Obama, because we had a very difficult time envisioning a Black president. We thought that it could never happen in this country, because my entire life I've grown up and that was a punchline and a joke. And so it took a long time before Black folks viewed Obama as something that could be viable in the White House. And we could discuss the merits of his presidency, because I got some major issues with the presidency and how he executed pieces of it. But the thing that can't be denied was it was something that a lot of Black people thought was impossible, and it happened. And I think a lot of, be honest with you, a lot of low-key racist folks, they've always had issues with Obama no matter what he was doing anyway. Like, we got to keep it buck. Anytime we start hearing about ghetto or Michelle's a man or anything, that's born of racism. And I don't care. I don't give a fuck how you try to defend yourself. If you've told those Michelle is a man jokes, or you talk about the food stamp president or the welfare president, or you got venom for Sasha and Malia, who have not done anything to anybody ever in a public sense. It's a racism. It's racism. Like, we just got to call it what it is. You cannot fuck with the president and not agree with his policies, but some of the places that y'all took it, and I'm talking to some of y'all that are even on my friends list, some of the places y'all took it was disgusting. And it was hard to have to look y'all in the face after this entire thing, how crazy y'all talked, because a lot of it had a super racist tinge to it. That aside, I do have major issues with Obama's presidency. I have major issues with Joe Biden's presidency. I'm agnostic when it comes to this kind of stuff, because I'm basically about what the policies are. And advancing imperialism is still the U.S.'s kind of bread and butter. Now, that being said, there was a lot of hopelessness that surged through the country. And then people's response to it was, I did my entire video like clarity is a gift, because it was nice. It was refreshing to know where people actually stood. We had a lot of people that harbored some really backdoor racist ideas about the world that they let out and let fly in public. And so it was nice to see where people actually stood. And so it was a clarifying moment. But there's a specific contingent of Black folks online that, and it falls in line of the "we are not our ancestors" shit that drives me crazy when I hear black people say we are not our ancestors. I hate that. I hate that so much. I hate it on so many levels. I hate it on so many layers because it overlooks the actual physical struggle that black folks went through to obtain our freedom in this country. I always say it took a lot of guns to make nonviolent resistance a viable strategy. And the entire concept of we just passively endured beatings and stuff. Some people did, but it was for a purpose. It was a strategy to juxtapose the brutality of the segregationists against the peaceful black folks. But if you ran up on MLK outside of that context, you would get shot. And I'm not bullshitting about it. For a long time, the man had an arsenal in his house. He always kept a burner on him for a long time until some of his ministers talked him down from it. But the "we are not our ancestors" line really infuriates me because it's assuming that we passively accepted our condition, and that is not the case. There's more slave rebellions that never got taught in Black history. It was a battle of bloodshed. A lot of times, if you actually do the math on the Civil War, one thing that was happening, slavery was kind of breaking down before the Civil War because they're having open rebellions. They were so busy having to put down rebellions at home. Or work stoppages where where all the slaves on the plantation said, "Fuck it, we're not doing anything. Come make us." Or on one end or the other end, we're going to kill everybody in the house, kill everybody in the plant in master's house, and take this bitch over. They were dealing with that on the front, and plus the Confederacy was fighting the Union on the other front, and so it wasn't passively accepting the brutality that was dished out for us. So when somebody says we are not our ancestors, it just grates me. And so that grates me along the lines of we're going to mock all the red states. Now I'm saying that because I'm in a purple state, purple reddish kind of state. For those that don't know how Nebraska is, and this is for people outside of here, Nebraska, Omaha went for Harris. I think Lincoln went for Harris too. And that's been a historical thing. Omaha and Lincoln, the population centers where most of the population lives, typically go for the Dem candidate. Now, I can't speak to the congressional maps because the congressional maps have been gerrymandered to a point where they brought in huge swaths of suburban places where you don't see a lot of diversity. They integrated those into a lot of the congressional maps so that they can water that down. But Nebraska, partisan politics hasn't really been a huge part of Nebraska up until it may be about 20 years ago when things started getting hyper partisan. But for a long time, everybody was agnostic. You didn't even know necessarily what the mayor's political affiliation was. The governor we had for a long time was a very conservative Democrat. And so it was always kind of purple in the state of Nebraska up until recently. And when I say recently, I'm talking about 20 years ago. So this unilateral writing off of Nebraska is interesting to see. And so there was something going around on social media and somebody was like, yeah, Nebraska's suffering, the farmers are suffering and blah, blah, blah. And somebody's like, yeah, that's what they get. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, see what you get, har, har, har. And so my immediate response is, well, Omaha went blue. Lincoln went blue. There's a black population here that's bigger than some other states. And people don't understand that. Like there's bigger than some other states that are around us. The black population is sizable. It's not huge, but we're talking like 103,000 black folks here in the state of Nebraska. Omaha was a destination because a lot of black folks, my family included, migrated from Missouri because Missouri was a border state and there was slavery in Missouri. And so Jim Crow in Missouri was worse than we experienced in Omaha. And Omaha was seen as a place where a black man can make a living. A black woman could get a job without having to deal with Jim Crow. People don't understand that even though Nebraska borders Missouri, Missouri was very much a slave state. And so I was talking to friends online explaining that once you get far enough down in Missouri, it's hard to tell where Missouri ends and where Arkansas begins. And so Missouri is south, depending on where you are in the state. I have friends challenge me and saying, "Oh, it's not like that. We'll do this, that, and the third." But I know, and if you've been in Missouri, once you get past Lake of the Ozarks, you are basically in the South. The Razorbacks fans down there, they sound like people from Arkansas, and they have a lot of the mannerisms and stuff like that. And so there's a crossover. But Nebraska Omaha specifically was a destination during the Great Migration. A lot of Black families came up to Omaha and landed in Omaha, and we've had historically Black parts of town, historically Black neighborhoods. Malcolm X was born here. We have an entire memorial to him and a center named after him. Omaha has been here for a long time, and so what we're getting, and I'm explaining this to him. Somebody said I was bullshitting, and I'm like, I'm not bullshitting. There's like almost 60,000 Black folks in Omaha. There's 100,000 statewide. All bullshit. No, the numbers are there. We exist here. So I'm saying all that to say this. A lot of times when people get online and they start talking about the red states get what they're getting, it ignores the fact that there are marginalized communities in almost every single red state. Big, small, whatever. And the marginalization hits different because not only are you marginalized, but you're isolated. You're surrounded on all sides by people who want you dead or don't want you to exist. And so not only are you not getting the solidarity from Black folks across the country, you're also getting the isolation that comes with being a Black community in a red state. And so when somebody starts talking like that, and they get what they get, the people that are going to get it worse and get it first are typically the marginalized communities. Right now, a lot of the reservations are struggling because all their federal funds got cut off for food and stuff. Omaha literally has one of the poorest. It's one of the poorest. It's like one of the poorest Black communities in, like, I think it's like the top 100 largest cities. It's one of the poorest cities for Black folks. Like, Black poverty is out of control here. Okay. And so the online mocking and the liberal sneers and stuff like that. And I see a lot of Black folks from bigger cities engaging in this, and they're basically erasing the Black folks here. There's no empathy for the Black folks that have to endure the life in the red state, especially when you live in a purple splotch that they've been trying to get rid of. They've been trying to punish us for voting the way we've been voting for decades. Okay, so we're getting the double erasure by the system in our own. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of history about Omaha, and hopefully this gets heard by some of the voices that are doing this, so that you can kind of reframe how you're thinking about it, because a lot of red states with smaller Black populations still have Black populations, and they're going to get it worse when you have a white nationalist regime in the White House right now. I'll be honest with you. So some facts to ground it. There's like 103,000 Black residents in the state of Nebraska. Douglas County, there's 77,000 Black residents, depending on what source you're reading. There's a range, of course. Malcolm X was born in Omaha. Roots trace back to the Great Migration for a lot of Black folks. My family has been in Omaha since the early 1900s, and we migrated from Missouri. And I remember my mom telling me about a Black township that don't exist anymore. And so I'm actually doing, me and my cousins are doing our family trees. And so we're tying in a lot of loose ends. But Omaha's Black history, we had a race riot here. And this was the foundation of our redlining and segregation, because for a long time, Black and Jewish populations lived next door to one another. And then when it hit, that's when you start seeing the white flight, but that's also where the redlining came in, and all the racial covenants where a Black person couldn't buy a house past this certain street. And North Omaha was essentially eviscerated by the North Freeway in the 70s. This is very recent memory, comparatively. A lot of generational wealth was stripped. A lot of the property my family owned, a lot of the property a lot of Black folks owned in this city was taken, and we didn't get anything for it. A lot of schools, businesses, everything. They took that freeway, dropped it right in the heart of our community. And the only reason, if you ever been to Omaha, the only reason that North Freeway stops is because where it stops, it turns into like a regular street, is because it was crossing over into the white neighborhood, and the white folks wouldn't stand for it, and the city listened to them. But a lot of generational wealth in very recent memory was extracted. I was born in 1979, so this happened a couple years before I was born. A lot of Black wealth was extracted. Not extracted, it was crushed. It was buried underneath the freeway. And a lot of Black people lost out on property that they would have been passing down to their kids and their kids' kids, that they could have leveraged to build some kind of build nest eggs for themselves. Because that's what generates a lot of wealth in this country. That's one of the oldest ways to generate wealth in this country is owning a house. So they were unable to do that and instantly turned an entire segment of the Black population here into nomads and renters. And it took a long time for us to get our feet under us. And some of us still, our family still never owned a home or haven't owned a home in decades. But it stripped out a lot of generational wealth. And as a result, Omaha is one of the poorest Black populations in the top 100 U.S. cities. And so when you are in either, because there's a lot of, I don't want to say just a red state, because some of the red states down south are red states by way of gerrymandering, right? But when you are a Black person in a bigger city and you are surrounded, you're a little bit more, I don't want to say insulated or protected, because there's not necessarily that, but you have a bigger community where there's more things for you to do and more cultural elements and a more of a population to support your endeavors. It's really easy to look down your nose at, or even just ignore Black populations in other cities and in red states. But the sneering discontent is really hard to deal with, because essentially you're getting erased and people are mocking you. Black folks are mocking you online, but they just don't know that you exist. So I'm urging you, if you're one of these people that gets online, I can say a comedy sketch. I think the thing that started it was a comedy sketch that was hilarious, but the comedy sketch is, reversing, ICE raids and everything, and they start deporting, they start going through European ancestry and deporting people based on that. And so they inverted what's actually happening. But then they're like, in the state of Nebraska and some other state, the population is now 0. And I'm sitting there like, there's 100,000 Black people in Nebraska. That's why I was like, this sketch is funny, but there's 100,000 Black people in Nebraska. And people didn't want to believe me. I was like, yeah, we're here. We've been here. And a lot of us can't go anywhere because we can't afford to leave. So one of the things I experienced, and I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the money, I don't have the numbers to back me up, but I can tell you that a lot of my friends and peers, when we graduated high school, they bounced. They took the first thing smoking out of here. A lot of really educated Black folks went to school in other places and never looked back. They'll return for Omaha all day, but Omaha sometimes feels like a generational curse that you have to end up escaping at some point in time as a Black person in order to live the kind of life that you actually want to live and have the opportunities you want. They'll return on Omaha days, but they don't come back. They ain't coming back to stay in here. I just talked to a brother who had to come back here, and he's trying to get out of here now. So when you're mocking Nebraska, there's a lot of families in North Omaha, specifically for Black folks. And this is the message for Black folks who are city libs. I haven't even looked at the comments, y'all, so I'm just kind of talking in space. But there's a lot of, this is the message for a lot of Black folks in larger cities where they have larger Black populations, and a lot of blue state libs. When you mock like Nebraska and say, ha, y'all get into what you're getting, you are literally excluding the marginalized population that's going to get it worse than anybody else. A lot of the farmers are going to be okay. I know the farm subsidies are up in the air, but they're going to legislate for those. They'll petition the government for those. But there's a lot of people that aren't getting those kind of outs. And so when you're mocking the poor people, when you're thinking just going to be a bunch of inbred hicks, there's going to be a lot of Black people that did not vote for any of this. And in fact, they're the ones that turned Omaha blue. So just keep that in mind. All right. And I know that you go down a slippery slope when you start focusing on electoralism as your avenue for change. But on the other side, if votes didn't matter, they wouldn't have dumped trillions of dollars into making sure that people couldn't vote. So Go be nihilistic about it, but there's a reality there too. Okay. And I've mentioned this before. Even if you don't vote nationally, make sure that you're getting out there for your local politics, because all politics are local. And there's a lot of things that are being discussed at your city council meeting and your state legislature that will take your rights. And so you damn sure better make sure you have representatives that are going to advocate and fight for you on a local level. Don't completely check out from this whole thing and divest from every aspect of it. All right. So, but then in day, you're mocking Nebraska, you're mocking North Omaha families who had no say in the policy, no safety net, and no escape routes. That's what I'm saying, bro. So just be mindful of that, and understand that, to me, when you're sitting there mocking, haha, they voted for it, they get what they vote for. There are a lot of black families in Texas that are going to be under the guillotine here. Har, har, har. You can guarantee they didn't vote for it. They're about to have their votes literally stripped away from them. Har, har, har. Shit, there's a lot of people in California that are about to have their votes stripped away from them to counter what's happening in Texas. So let's use a little bit more discretion when we're talking about this, and some nuance to these arguments, because a lot of it sounds reductive, trite bullshit. All right, so next thing we're getting into, Cornball Masculinity, Andrew Tate and his sons. Now, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. The Andrew Tate fans that showed up to my comments, y'all was cool. I mean, it was just kind of a loose debate. There wasn't a whole lot of disrespect. The shit that showed up in my inbox is a different story. But a lot of the ones that came into my feed was cool. Not a lot of them was popping shit. But once we started getting into like inbox stuff, or the things that people say when they're not talking directly to you, that's where we started seeing issues. So I'm addressing some of y'all motherfuckers. Just putting Andrew Tate's name in there drew out a bunch of people that I didn't necessarily expect. But I actually had to go back and listen to it, just because some of y'all was so adamant about what he was on. So I'm going to put it like this. Bro's a certified cornball, like a confirmed cornball, like a confirmed lame. I'm a nerd, dude's a geek. Like, in high school, my boys would have had him in a locker somewhere. Like, they would run his pockets. I'm a nerd saying this, lifelong nerd saying this. They had Andrew Tate living in a trash can in the high school gym, in the locker room. They had treated that dude like Screech. Money can't unlame a lame. And so what we see is kind of the Drake thing that happens, where he has money, and now that he has money, he's cool in his own mind, and he's going to tell you how cool he is because he has money. That shit is corny, bro. Shit is corny. And so when I see Andrew Tate and some of his other sons out there, your Sneakos, Aiden Ross to a degree, I really try to limit my Aiden Ross intake. I hate that. No, I really don't vibe and align with a lot of that little dude stuff. And so I don't punish myself with his stuff at all. But academics to a degree. But the idea that the only reason Andrew Tate is cool and he has these women around him who are trafficked and abused and a lot of times trapped with him, the reason he's cool is because he's had money. Now, how he's gotten his money is dubious. It's not dubious in the fact that he has money, but the claims to being rich before he got on, I don't necessarily 100% believe. I actually did the math and went into some of his coursework and stuff like that. His coursework is basic digital marketing shit, e-commerce stuff, drop shipping, how to write ad copy. These are things that are available on the internet. Hell, I taught myself this, but a lot of this is really basic internet marketing stuff. And then it has a layer of this toxic, I hate women bullshit on there. So I'm going to get into it. Like I said, this ain't for the people that showed up in my comment section. Y'all was cool. Y'all was respectful. It was a disagreement. I ain't vibing with dudes. Some of y'all was going hard in the paint, defending your boy's honor. That's neither here nor there. My take on it is a confirmed cornball. And if you get pissed off at what I'm saying about Andrew Tate, and you come in my comments like, well, he could beat your ass. Okay, that's fine. The question is, can you beat my ass? That's the question. Can you beat my ass? If you're going this hard in the paint for Andrew Tate, the question you need to ask yourself, I don't know if he can whip my ass. I don't know. He's a kickboxer. He might, whatever. The question is, can you beat my ass if you're feeling some kind of way about it? And I am one of the people that will drop an addy in the inbox. Like, yeah, I'll drop my addy. I'll drop my address, my office address. Come see me. I don't really care. I've done it before. So I'm not about that, but at the same time, I know how people get when they get in the inboxes. The thing I will say is the thing I'm reminded of after I went through my Andrew Tate rabbit hole and listened to a lot of his content. There's a song Big L did, one of his early singles, and it was with Kid Capri. It was called "Put It On," I think. And one of the early lines is he says, "Some brothers would still be virgins if crack never came out." That's Andrew Tate. Just listening to how he talks, bro, like the edge and all the other stuff and the energy he has, it's all performative, because I know he wasn't on this kind of energy before he had money, and he wasn't on this kind of timing. A lot of fake alpha posturing. There's no authenticity to it. Like I said, they had gone up in his pockets, bro. When I was a kid, high school, them cats would have had him living in a locker, bro. A lot of the masculinity is reduced to clout and money and bullying weaker targets. And for him, his weaker targets are typically women or men that he thinks are simps or whatever. Whoever he identifies as a weaker person, that's who his venom is towards. But a lot of these dudes were losers growing up. They weren't cool growing up. And so the only reason they're cool now is because they got money. But they still don't make you cool. Like, I guess that's the thing. Blake, like I said, the reason why I don't align with Drake is Drake's kind of that blueprint of it right now, where he's in that F-boy energy, where I got a lot of money, and so that makes me cooler than you, kind of did. But Andrew Tate was that version of that online. Okay. He's kind of the progenitor of that in a lot of online spaces. I don't see his shit as authentic. And so when you guys come in my comments and try to spin it and tell me all this other shit, yes, digital marketing stuff that I've been doing, I made money with that. I've been making money with that stuff for years. And I didn't need Andrew Tate to tell me how to do it. I went out and learned it on my own. I didn't need to buy his course because the information was right there. Learning how to drop ship isn't hard. Also, learning that drop shipping is a dying model is not hard. So if it made you money, great. He wasn't necessary to that. You could have learned that anywhere else. Like I said, I see Aiden Ross, the stuff I've exposed to, he's clout chasing. He's all up Drake's ass. Drake's all up his ass. I don't really vibe with little dude like that. And he says some out-of-pocket racist shit. And so I don't really mess with him like that. Sneeko, I kind of get the same, like Andrew Tate, but not. And he tries to apologize and walk back his shit. I watched this dude get his shit rocked in public, and he didn't do anything. So, Academics is an internet tough guy. He tries to fight women. Same thing with Fresh and Fit. Them dudes are soft. And they talk shit online because now they have the money to be able to talk shit online. But realistically, without that, they wouldn't really have anything. And that one dude is Somalian or whatnot. He has some very complex self-hate. Very complex self-hate. He needs therapy. He won't take it, but he has some very complex self-hate against Black people. And he talks crazy about Black folks. Man, I don't understand how some of y'all online were watching his shit. Like I said, anywhere else outside of that, anywhere else outside of their podcasting universe, they are clowns. The biggest nerds in your high school. Not the biggest nerds, because I'm a nerd. I rock with nerds. I've met a lot of really cool nerds. The biggest geeks in your high school. Biggest losers in your high school. Okay? The larger problem is young men, teenagers, weaker guys, or guys that don't have a stronger sense of self can fall under these guys because they sell the image of success. They sell validation. But they think that this is the way to act. But all you're doing is now you're being an obnoxious asshole. And you're imitating, you're aping somebody who is putting on a front for you to sell you stuff. It's a vicious cycle, bro. Like, they're putting on a front to sell you shit. They're putting on a front to sell you shit, and they're pretending like they're not. The entire persona is to either sell a course, sell your eyeballs to the podcast, sell streaming views, whatever. And so they crank it up to 11 to play a role. But I mean, if you like, I saw Fresh and Fit. That dude tried to act like he was gonna fight a woman in his studio. It was the most ridiculous, softer than puppy shit thing I'd ever seen. He's gonna try to square off with a black woman. Ridiculous. And like I said, when I'm talking to all these people, the question is, it's not whether they can beat my ass. Can you whoop my ass if you feel some kind of way about it? And to be honest with you, I put my money on running a fade with dude from Fresh and Fit. Like I put my money on it, but it is what it is. And academics too. But I've run businesses. I've run e-commerce. I've been through the trenches. I know the knowledge. A lot of the stuff that Andrew Tate was selling is basic marketing knowledge dressed up and tied into fake internet tough guy shit. And so that was his marketing strategy. You are his marketing strategy. And once he's made money off you, he has no more use for you. So he doesn't care about your outcomes. Okay. So if you're able to transform your life with his basic internet marketing stuff, more power to you. The shit that he talks about with dealing with women and relationships with other men and all that other stuff, please leave that alone. It is not a path to be a better person. It's a path to being a worse person. And I always judge, like, integrity does matter. Would you trust this guy when you have a daughter? Would you trust this guy around your wife and daughter? Would you trust this guy to mentor your sons or take advantage of them? Because a lot of you have been taken advantage of and you just don't want to cop to it, which is fine. I'm not here to burst your bubble. Keep believing what you've been believing. And all the internet tough guys, it is what it is. So I don't necessarily agree with it. A lot of that shit is corny to me, and I don't necessarily buy it. It's over the top, hype, corny shit. And the only reason they're popular, and that's the only reason they're cool. And being popular doesn't make you cool. I know enough guys in high school that were popular in high school that wasn't cool. And once we got out of high school, the mask got dropped, and everybody kind of saw what it was. So that's what it is. I'm going to start wrapping this up. All right. So the last segment here I want to talk about is this conversation I had with some friends online. Talking about the trends of what they're seeing with these kids in school and whatnot, and them engaging in a lot of very adult damaging behaviors. And so I do have a theory that I'm working on, and I've seen it enough in my case management days. And it's not black or white. I'm be honest with you. Like it crosses a lot of lines. It crosses a lot of racial lines, but I am specifically talking to black folks, even though this crosses all racial lines. I'm talking from the experience of a black person with black children. I'm seeing a lot of stealing kids' childhood for clout and adultifying kids. Seeing men defend grown men, paying grown women to shake ass in front of their 13-year-old sons. Seeing grown men do it, defend it like it's a thing that you should be doing. I've seen women competing for the same man with their daughters online, competing for their attention or competing for the attention in real life. Dark shit. I'm seeing a lot of people in their 40s trying to relive their 20s. And I'm saying that as somebody who plays video games and reads comic books. That is a part of my youth that I'm not going to let go. But I also own 2 businesses, and I'm raising 2 children that are in high school, my 2 honor students. So I'm also a dad in real life. I'm adult when I need to be. So I've seen, the grown men paying women to dance, strip in front of their teenage boys. Moms competing with their daughters online for male attention and in real life. Moms fighting their daughter because the mom's boyfriend is making eyes at the daughter like she has some control over what this weird grown motherfucker's. That just pissed me off. Is grown adult man's leering at their daughter, and so she wants to fight the daughter instead of checking the man. Adults treating their kids like peers instead of protecting their childhood. And I almost feel like it comes from you're trying to relive aspects of your childhood, and you're basically trying to raise little buddies that you can hang out with and smoke and drink with, and chase chase men or women with, and it's a weird vibe. It's a weird thing, and you are bridging these kids' childhood, and then you wonder why they get involved in some adult shit, or the inverse, why once they get to past a certain age, they have no respect for you as the adult in their life, because essentially they've had to raise their parents, because nobody was going to be the adult in the house. The kid's going to be one. And that can lead to some pretty dark outcomes for kids. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Why it's dangerous, specifically for Black children. Our children face adultification bias from schools, police, and society. I've seen the news call a 14-year-old kid a man. I've seen, people call little Black girls all kinds of ugly, ugly slurs, like she's a grown woman. I've seen police brutalize Black children, treating them like adults. Like when I was in high school, I very clearly remember watching police mace a bunch of sixth graders for standing around seeing, like they were like somebody was fighting and the kids were kind of walking around the fight and the police were trying to break up the fight. So they literally sprayed mace into the eyes of sixth graders with no remorse. So our children already face that ultification. And when parents accelerate it, the kids end up losing a core experiences out of being children. It's weird, y'all. Your kids are supposed to be kids. Allow your children to be kids. You can still hang out with them. You can still talk about things. You can still have fun with them. Me and my daughter watch anime every Saturday night. That's our thing. We enjoy that stuff. I also don't mistake my daughter for a hangout buddy. I don't mistake my son for a buddy, like a best friend that I'm going to hang out with and go get drinks with and stuff like that. That's not what my role is as a parent. And like I said, a lot of y'all are trying to rush these kids through childhood so you have somebody to hang out and drink and smoke with. And it's weird. And you're being weirdos for doing it. Just calling it out. I'm a grown man with nerd hobbies, comic books, video games, anime, but I balance the shit with adult responsibilities. Kids deserve to be kids until they're ready to be adults. Stop trying to rush them through the process so that you have somebody to hang out with, or so that you can feel better about you getting older because you're trying to offset your fear of aging. There, I said it. So let's wrap this up. In summation, Snyder's Hulk run will feed it. The streets need it. We need a Scott Snyder. We need a Scott Snyder Hulk run, like ASAP. Like it needs to happen. It needs to happen. We need it. It's the streets require it, and so maybe when the universe resets itself and we get right as a country, we might get it. It might be the thing that brings us all together. I don't know. Just saying. Stop erasing Black folks in red states, bro. It's dispiriting. It's depressing when I see other Black folks in other states do that. We're going to get it worse than just about anybody else. Marginalized people in red states are going to get it worse than anybody else. And it's going to get worse. Andrew Tate and his legion of cornball disciples are cornballs, dude. There's nothing cool about these guys. The only reason people mess with them is because they got money. Like I said, we would have gone in Andrew Tate's pockets when I was in high school. And I wasn't even on that. But if he came in with that energy, with that same energy, them brothers would have. I'm just saying. And stop stripping your kids of their childhood. Let them enjoy their childhood. Let them write their own stories. Let them be kids at their own pace. Let them screw up. Okay? Let them make mistakes without cussing them out like adults. Stop being so strident with them when they make a mistake, or showing them how eager you are to take advantage of them. One of my boys said this, your kids need to know the difference between you and a stranger. A stranger will take advantage of them with no remorse. Don't be that person. But also don't be that person that is so enamored with or so scared of being old that you make your kids into little tiny grown folks so you have an excuse to hang out with them. That shit is weird. It's weird, y'all. It's really weird, and you need to stop doing that. Let these kids write their own stories, y'all. I promise you they'll be better developed adults if you allow them to be children first. Okay? So, that's all I got. I do appreciate y'all's time. I got a couple of things I'm working on for next week. Hopefully we get some more absolute universe stuff. Hopefully I have some more Ultimate Marvel stuff that I can kind of break down and run that down for y'all. 80s tees, if anybody from y'all company is watching, hey, sign me up, bro. I will advertise your stuff. I will be your ambassador because you have a full website. If I had $1 million, I'd buy one of everything. So that's all I got. I might be taking this to TikTok just because I think I might have a better audience over there. Because TikTok Live tends to try to push a better audience. What I need, though, and this is maybe top of the show. I should have done this to top of the show. If you follow me on TikTok, if you're seeing this on TikTok, please, 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 I have to have at least 50 followers before I can go live. And so that's a barrier for me. I'm cleared in every other aspect. I just need 50 followers on my page so I can go live. And start building out this community. I am starting a Patreon, and so these uncut, unfiltered ones, if you don't watch them live, that's where I'll be posting them. Once I figure out how to do the Discord server, I'll be doing a lot of live streams specifically in my Discord. And I want to build a community around black dad and black mom nerds. So we can talk parenting, we can talk politics, we can talk comic books, we can talk all the things. I want to do that. And so I'm building the Patreon so that I can have these higher level conversations and not burdening my YouTube with these long form rants. I think that they have a place, but I also I want people to get the value out of it. So on YouTube, you're going to start seeing segments of the show and maybe a little bit longer edits of the show. Patreon's where you're going to get all the raw uncut stuff. And then I can react to things a little bit more on there than I have the capacity or bandwidth to do right now. So that's all I got. I appreciate y'all's time. Be easy. This has been Blurting While Dad. Love y'all. Talk to y'all later. Peace. I got to set the outro video. Like, StreamYard is like, I am messing up. I used StreamYard for a long time, and I am failing some very simple things. So I will talk to y'all later. Be easy. Peace. Thank you.